technology major. So I wanted to ask, how many of you are taking out loans or working to help pay for schooling? Yeah, so that's a lot of you guys. So I wanted to talk about how having high schoolers take at least one financial class in order to graduate can help them benefit long term. So my first claim is that high school schoolers can benefit from learning how to properly file their taxes. So most parents don't really sit down with their children to talk about taxes or how they're going to help pay for colleges because they don't want to put that stress on you, because they're saying, you know, we'll do the best that we can to help you with that. And in an article on the U.S. News states, to say it's a parent's responsibility seems unfair to the parents and unfair to the kids. You can't ask people to be responsible for teaching something if they haven't received the education themselves. So, do any of you guys know how to do taxes?
Yeah.
Yes? Did you learn it yourself, or did you have your parents help you?
My parents.
Your parents help you. Now, did they know how to do it correctly all the way, or did they have to go back and look at it, how to fix it?
I don't know. We compared it to like theirs. So.
Right, so you're learning, but they're still learning too how to do it. Another way to help file taxes is that not only do parents not have that discussion with their child, or very few, but teachers lack the information that they're supposed to provide to their students. So in high school, I did have a civics class that taught me about 401ks and retirement plans. But I'm thinking, why would I need that? Because I just started college. It is not important to learn about investment and retirement as much as it is to help getting started to do that. My second claim is that high schoolers can gain financial responsibility when they learn how to manage their taking out loans. So I get asked how many of you guys are taking out loans or working, and that's quite a few of you. And the thing is that the students who take out more loans tend to have more debt. My roommate is from out of state, and she's $58,000 in debt already. And according to Huffington Post, in their article, college grads are still hurting over debt and joblessness. There's a correlation about how the average 2015 graduate is carrying about $35,000 in student loan debt, which is $20,000 more than the 2014 graduate. And in correlation to that, the Wall Street Journal stated about how about 1 in 5 loan holders do not know the terms of their student loans, and the majority, which is 54% of ROs, did not calculate their monthly payments when they took out their most recent loans. So there are hidden fees or hidden interest rates on taking out loans that we don't quite know how to do, or we don't quite think about, because we need the money to help pay for our school first. Lastly, high schoolers can improve their lifestyle when they know how to save money. A lot of us worry about how we're going to be paying for colleges, or how to get by month to month for paying for rent, paying for food, paying for books, paying for tuition. And that's stress that we don't need, or we don't need to focus on 24/7. We should be focusing on our education. And the Huffington Post are claiming in one of their articles is that high schooler students, about 44% said that stress related to money had impacted their performances at school. And that 86% of 16 to 18-year-olds would rather learn about properly spending in class time, learning about money and how to manage it. Now, I recently just started living on my own and with my roommate. And this is my first time living by myself, managing how to expend my money for a full month. So I have to think about how much rent, how much gas, how much bills I have to pay, like electric, Wi-Fi. And that's something I don't want to worry about when I should be worrying about schooling, especially because it's my junior year. But in conclusion, it is important for high school students to focus on how to manage their money and how to do life skills in financial areas so they can help better themselves in life. So my question to you is that, do you believe that high schoolers should take these classes? Thank you.
Right, well, you identify the proposition, but it sounds like it's phrased like a question, which means that it's probably going to end up more an informative rather than argumentative presentation. One of the things that's missing is a supporting point that shows such a class could have any impact on people's lives. There's a presupposition that a high school class is going to make a difference, that people learn something from the classes that they take, that they're able to translate that information and use it, that there's some degree of success. And that's a presupposition that I think needs a lot more demonstration than you provide here. We've got colleges filled with people who took 12 years of English and still can't write a sentence. We have a whole bunch of people who have taken math classes to meet the requirements, and the first class they have to take when they get to college is a remedial math class. The notion that a class like this would work and make a difference, you don't even have an example of what a class like this would be like or how effective it would be or how it could be taught. And I think that's a little bit problematic, that's missing from here. The notion that students are underprepared, though, I think is nicely developed. You do explain, that there are all kinds of issues that people are faced with. The tax issue, I think it gets a little complicated because you're using the audience to try and build your argument here, and it could go in a lot of different directions. And I don't know that the example in this class helped you that much. Seems like everybody in here figured out their taxes and got it done. I don't know that the stress has prevented them from succeeding in their classes, but I know that nobody likes doing their taxes. Doesn't matter how well you know what the taxes are. It's still a pain in the butt, and it's a financial burden for a lot of people. So the notion that a class would have reduced that by, people would know, well, I have to do my taxes. There are all kinds of answers to this issue, some of which are electronic in nature. I mean, people do taxes on using computer software now that makes it relatively straightforward. People who have only a single job and don't have a bunch of dependents or deductions, especially people in your age category, for instance, are unlikely to have complicated tax issues that they're going to have to deal with. And those would be the complicated tax issues would be the ones that would be least likely to be covered in a class. So everybody's going to get the generic kind of thing. Here's how to fill out the 1040 EZ, which is not that complicated to fill out. But how do you amortize your capital gains investments so that you don't have to pay a lot of taxes? The students are going to look and go, I don't have any capital gains. It's not like I've made a bucket load of money from my investments and now I have to find a way to protect that. They're not going to be in that situation. So I think that there's a question about whether or not that is really practical. The other financial responsibility issue concerned taking out loans, and I do think that there is an argument to be made that says people don't necessarily understand what they're getting involved in, and that there might be a better way to do preparation for attending college. Again, I'm not sure that a separate class is going to fix that sort of thing. And then you just make the third argument is about general lifestyle issues, and you're talking about stress, and you've got a personal example, and I appreciate that. I just don't know how generalizable it is that the source of this problem is a lack of knowledge that we could all have gotten if we'd had an appropriate high school class to address that issue. That just seems like that's a lot to put on a class, especially in high school. You guys ever listen to Bruce Springsteen? According to Bruce, he learned more on a 3-minute record than he ever learned in school. So,